Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the wonderful city of Pine Harbour. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'll give a brief introduction. So, Pine Harbour is the only and therefore main city in the region of Coniferia, which is a fictional region, not based on one particular theme. And it's basically the primary region that we are building here on the channel at the moment. The idea behind the series is also that we have as much community involvement as possible, so as many votes as possible, as many discussions as possible, and as many decisions as possible. And I'm hopeful that it's going to really show down the road that much of the city's development and how it's evolved has been due to the decisions you guys have made. And not just an omnipotent God King, that would be me, but with lots of community involvement. So if you are new to the channel and wonder how that looks, you can head over to the community page here on my YouTube channel, and you'll see lots of votes going on. So right now, as of recording this vote, right now as of recording this episode, there's a vote going on right now, quite an important vote for the Pine Harbour City Council, where they have to decide on which proposal for the redevelopment of a really central location in downtown Pine Harbour, which proposal to go for. And they're quite different. So the first proposal is a high-rise, a mixed-use development basically with luxury apartments, which is entirely private funded. So no expense for the city. And the other proposal is something very different. It's like a theater/arts complex proposed for the downtown lot, which would include some public funding, albeit the investor is willing to put down 45% of the total expenses. So yeah, exciting vote, and of course, if you don't want to miss out on any votes, then make sure to enable notifications so that you'll be notified whenever they take place, because they will probably most often take place on the community page, but some of them might take place on the actual video as well, because you can use like cards to allow people to vote during your videos. Anyways, that's sort of the introduction to the channel and the series. So to go through this episode, what we are building here is we're expanding the city of Pine Harbour to the west. There used to be this big empty area between the highway and the westernmost reach of Pine Harbour's suburbs, and we're basically just filling this in now with this sort of weird, awkward mix of low density commercial. We're gonna get a few medium density residential buildings. We're gonna get some row houses. We're gonna get just a bit of everything actually. And it sort of helps fill out the city. And like my idea was that this area is a bit of a mixed bag. Most of it built in the 70s and 80s, and not in the best condition anymore. So what we're starting out with here is, I'm trying to experiment with creating these custom parking lots. It's something I really used to love doing back in 2017 and 18 when I uploaded all those videos back then. If you guys remember, I used to love doing these custom parking lots. Turns out that I don't really have as many good parking lots to actually place and move around, so that was a bit restrictive, which you guys will see in not too long. And another thing as well is that we of course have some pretty cool mods now. We had back then, but they weren't as used, but we have some cool mods for making customizable parking lots today, so you don't actually have to do this decal approach. But it's been a while, and I used to do a lot of this, so I thought, what the heck, let's just jump into it and see if we can make it look okay. And speaking of looking okay, I'm kind of fumbling a bit with these curb networks, just trying to make it look trying to make it look good, but also make it look a bit random. It doesn't have to make perfect sense. I think that's part of the charm, adding a bit of randomness basically to what you're building. And then of course the parking lots, lots and lots of parking lots. But yeah, this turned out to be quite a bit of a weird mixed area. I think in the end it actually turned out really nice, and I think that I've managed to record some really sweet cinematics. As you guys know, I love cinematics dearly, so yeah, lots of them in this episode as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the intro cinematics as well. I know some people skip them, or at least I have a feeling, and I think that's fine. I probably have a tendency to go a bit overboard, but yeah. Personally, some sweet cinematics, some nice music. It's just a certain vibe, so I can't stop. We're adding conifers, which is really fitting in Coniferia. And like it's as you guys know, it's a general theme throughout the region that we just have a ton of flora. So like the whole place is basically super overgrown. There's not a lot of like really managed park space. Instead, the policy has always been that nature should be allowed to sort of take over if it's not too much of a hindrance to everyday life. So that's why it's so lush everywhere. I really like that. I'd love to live in a city like that where the park space, the recreational areas, they aren't as well managed, but they're a little more, they're just allowed to grow really. All right, so as you can see, we've placed these two towers, these medium density apartment buildings. They're also from like the early 70s, and they were initially built in like a response to the housing shortage in the city. So during the 70s and 80s, the city was actually, the city council at the time at least was actually pretty, I guess you could say, progressive as far as urban planning go, and they knew that they had to allow for more diverse zoning if the housing shortage was ever to be managed. And this is why throughout Coniferia and throughout Pine Harbour we will continue to see these areas that look sort of weird, because they're a mix of many different zoning types, and they're sort of a fun mishmash. So at least that's the narrative I have to justify them, I guess you could say. In general, I just feel they are a lot of fun to do. And I love going into like an area with like no pre-plan. Back in 2017 and 18, it was really a thing. I mentioned a lot back then that I just love to play the game without doing a ton of research up front, because I feel that personally it can sort of, let's say, it can narrow my creative outlet a bit. It can make me a bit less creative because I sort of pick up on tons of ideas up front, and then I end up already knowing sort of what buildings I want to use. I guess in the end I just enjoy being able to just push my creativity a bit by not really having any plans, or at least having as few as possible. So for instance, this episode and this whole area was just decided on a whim. As you guys might know, I have quite a busy schedule, so it's really hard to kind of fit all the hours this hobby takes into that schedule, because I have other commitments that I just need to prioritize over City Skylines. I'm not in a situation where I can YouTube full time. Unfortunately, I would love to be able to do that, but yeah, let's say I'm not there yet. But yeah, it means that sometimes when I do get some playtime and time to produce content, I've gotta pick something and go with it fast. And sometimes I have an idea up front, so for a few days, for instance, and sometimes that idea will just be moved to the side because I've just decided, okay, I'm just gonna do something spontaneous, and that sort of explains how this episode came to be. really. I just wanted to do something that I thought would be fun, and yeah, here we are. So anyways, struggling a bit once more with a custom parking lot here. I always try to maintain sort of a balance when building stuff, and that balance is between detailing and the bigger picture. And it's something I've mentioned before, and it's something other creators have mentioned before as well, such as $2.20, and the fight between those two aspects. And the fight basically is, I don't know if it's a fight, but they're like in conflict with each other. If you want to make something that is extremely detailed, then it's gonna, take a really long time to get like a big picture development going. So what we mean by a bigger picture is just getting, actual stuff built. I find that if I go really heavy on the detail, then 50 minutes pass and I've built 4 buildings, and I've made their backyards really nice, but I don't feel I've accomplished all that much. So yeah, that's something I always try to maintain a good balance, not to please anyone, but actually more just to please myself. Because I know that if I go, as I said, if I go too much heavy on the detail, I don't feel I get much done. Anyways, back to what you're actually watching on your screen. Then we're building some row homes, and I've actually built quite a few now throughout the city of Pine Harbour and the region of Coniferia, and I think we're gonna continue to do so. I just think that they kind of break up the monotony of single-family suburbs, and yeah, they add some character, and I love being creative with the backyards. And they are also one of the reasons that I think that we benefit from this idea that Coniferia is not set in one specific country or place on Earth. It's a fictional place, but it's definitely inspired by some Western countries, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and of course the US. But in general, it's a fictional place, and I think it sort of gives us more of a creative freedom, that we can mix and match like different types of urban development themes from Europe, from Asia, from the US. We can make something super car dependent if we want to. We can make something really transit oriented. It gives freedom. I think that's really nice. Row homes here as well. I use the realistic population mods, and for many of the houses I've placed in this episode, I've just sort of bumped the population a bit, because at times I feel that the calculation that the mod uses aren't quite fitting. Because basically sometimes you'll have like row homes where it's very clear that there are multiple units in the building, so there are separate apartments, but sometimes the mod will calculate it to just a single apartment. So I always fix that up. It's not like I'm trying to artificially inflate the population of the city. Actually, I'm kind of aiming for as accurate a representation as possible, but that requires me to sometimes up the population a bit on certain assets, and sometimes even down it a bit. So yeah, we're just populating this parkland again with some flora, some overgrown stuff. And now we're trying to kind of fix up some of the intersections, make them look nicer. So I've gotten a few questions of the asset for this road, but as you guys can see, it's a pretty basic 4-lane road with a median, and then the way I get these grass medians is that I basically use the intersection marking tool to just create fillers. As you guys can see throughout many of the episodes, I love using the intersection marking tools to create medians and to just kind of break up the structure of the road. Earlier in this episode, I'll do the same here, I think. So I'm just marking up some parking stuff right now. And yeah, just getting an overview. I always lack a bit of creativity when it comes to these small areas. So here it's like, screw it, let's make a simple park, lots of bushes, that looks nice. And I think in the end it always ends up looking quite nice, even though it's not the most creative approach. Adding planters and decals, yeah. I was hesitant at first at detailing up this lot, but I think that they are the two most prominent buildings in this western part of Pine Harbour, in this district in particular. So whenever I have buildings or structures or whatever that are prominent in the area, then I'll usually feel the need to just detail that part up a bit more, because it's gonna be like the focal point. It's gonna be the center of attention, I guess, for me, but probably also for you guys watching. And then I just detail it up a little more. So we're adding this shed so that people can throw their bikes in there, so that they don't turn all rusty. Not that I would bike in Pine Harbour, because the way I've built the city, it's an absolute death trap for cyclists. Yeah, yikes. Should probably look into fixing that at some point. Adding more flora, that's the oldest trick in my book. Add more trees, add more bushes. Sorry, that's gonna make it look good if you're either too lazy or unwilling to detail. Yeah, like I said, using the intersection marking tool to kind of break up the monotony of roads. I'm doing the same thing here to add these, like, I guess, I don't know if you'd call them massive planters, but they just break up the parking area for the cars. And they allow me to add more trees. I end up using, yeah, for these, I end up using like a pretty weird, I guess, planter and tree combination. So I use these planters, which look kind of fancy and upscale. And then I place these rather large conifers in these planters. And like, I'm not an expert on nature, but yeah, it's my guess that they wouldn't be able to really grow in such small planters. The ecosystem is probably a little too small. Yeah. Where are we? Well, more trees. That's where we are. And then we just hit play and let it all get populated. So I had the game run for several minutes, and just, yeah, as you guys can see, people are moving in. And here we've got a, if you ask me, super cool transition I made to showcase the area before and after everything we've built. So if you've stuck with me for this long, then thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support. If you like my content, feel free to subscribe, enable notifications if you want to not miss out on votes, liking and commenting, and all that good YouTube lingo stuff. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Bye.